The little girl has his eyes. Kang Min-ho stands frozen in the doorway of his own restaurant, watching a child who can't be older than 5 or 6 color at a back table while her mother refills water glasses. Those eyes, amber dark, unusual, the exact shade that runs through his bloodline like a signature, peer up at him with curious intensity. The mother turns and his heart stops completely. He knows that face, those curves, that specific way she tilts her head when she's assessing danger. 6 years ago, New York. One perfect night he's never been able to forget. And now she's here in his territory with a child who looks exactly like the photographs of his dead mother. Welcome to Black in Korea Stories, besties. Please like, share, and subscribe. 20 years of training, surviving assassination attempts, hostile takeovers, betrayals that should have killed him, and Min-ho can't move, can't breathe. Can't do anything except stare at a 5-year-old with crayons who just tilted her head exactly the way his mother did in photographs. The woman, Isabella, she'd called herself that night, though he'd always suspected it wasn't real. Hasn't noticed him yet. She's moving between tables with practiced efficiency, her curves wrapped in a simple white server's uniform, completely unaware that her entire life is about to shatter. Or maybe his life is about to shatter. He can't tell which. The little girl looks up from her coloring book directly at him and frowns. Then she tugs her mother's apron. "Mommy, that man is staring at us." Woman turns. Their eyes meet across 20 feet of crowded restaurant, and Min-ho watches 6 years of secrets collapse in a single heartbeat. She recognizes him. He sees it, the shock, the fear, the desperate calculation of a woman realizing she's trapped. Her hand moves to her daughter's shoulder, protective, pulling the child closer. But she doesn't run. "Stay here, baby," she murmurs. "Don't move." Then she walks toward him. "Outside," Ebele says when she reaches him. Her voice is steady, but he can see her pulse jumping in her throat. "Not in front of my daughter. Our daughter. You don't know that." Has my eyes, my mother's face, my grandmother's jawline. His voice is low, controlled, hiding the earthquake happening inside him. "I know exactly what she is." Something flickers across Ebele's face. Resignation, maybe, or relief at finally being caught. "Outside, now, or I scream and every person in this restaurant calls the police. I own this restaurant, and most of the police. Then I'll scream anyway. Your reputation might survive. Your daughter's memory of this moment won't." The threat lands. Min-ho glances at the little girl, still watching them with those impossible amber eyes, and feels something crack in his chest. 5 minutes, he says. Then we talk properly. About everything. The alley behind the restaurant smells like garbage and rain. Ebele stands with her back to the wall, arms crossed, every line of her body screaming defiance even though they both know she has no real power here. "Her name is Soo-min," she says before he can speak. "She's 5 years old. She's brilliant, reading at a 3rd grade level, asking questions her teachers can't answer. She likes dinosaurs, hates math, and wants to be a paleontologist when she grows up. You named her after my grandmother. You told me about her. That night, you said she was the wisest person you'd ever known. I told you a lot of things that night. I also told you my name was Min and I was a grad student. I told you my name was Isabella and I was a freelance writer." Ebele's chin lifts. "We both lied. The difference is my lies didn't involve running a criminal empire. You know who I am. I figured it out 2 months ago. When I started working here and saw your photograph in the manager's office." Her voice sharpens. "Imagine my surprise, the beautiful stranger who quoted poetry and made me feel alive for one night. Turns out he's one of the most dangerous men in South Korea. Yet you stayed. I needed the job. And I convinced myself you'd never actually show up here, that you had people to run things." She laughs bitterly. "Apparently I was wrong." Min-ho steps closer. She doesn't retreat, but he sees her hands clench at her sides. "Why didn't you tell me, when you realized who I was?" "Tell you what?" "Hi, remember our one-night stand? We have a daughter, and by the way, I've been serving appetizers in your restaurant for 8 weeks. She shakes her head. "What was I supposed to do? Walk up to a man who could have me killed and hope for the best? I would never hurt you." "You don't know that. I don't know that. We spent one night together 6 years ago." That's not exactly a foundation for trust. She's right. He knows she's right. But the thought of his daughter growing up 20 feet away from him for 2 months. "I want to meet her, properly. She's my daughter. She's my daughter. I raised her. I fed her. I stayed up with her when she was sick and held her when she cried and taught her everything she knows. You're just..." Ebele's voice breaks. "You're just a stranger who happened to share DNA." The words cut deeper than any knife. Min-ho takes a breath, forcing himself to stay calm. I understand you're scared. I understand my world is dangerous. But I'm not asking to take her from you. I'm asking to know her, to be part of her life in whatever way you'll allow. If I don't allow anything, then I'll respect that. But I'll also spend every day for the rest of my life regretting what I've lost. He meets her eyes. I searched for you after that night, for years. You gave me a fake name, but I still looked. I couldn't forget you, Ebele, and now I know why. Something shifts in her expression. The anger doesn't disappear, but something else joins it, something that looks almost like longing. 1 hour, she says finally. You can meet her, talk to her, but if you scare her, if you make her uncomfortable in any way, I won't. If you try to take her from me, I won't. If you bring your world anywhere near her, I will do everything in my power to keep her safe, both of you safe. He holds her gaze, letting her see the truth in his eyes. Whatever you think of me, whatever I am, she's my daughter, and I will destroy anyone who threatens her. Ebele stares at him for a long moment. Then she nods once, sharp and decisive. 1 hour, starting now. Soo-min is still coloring when they return, her small face screwed up in concentration as she adds purple stripes to a dinosaur that's already covered in green spots. Mommy. She looks up with a bright smile that fades slightly when she sees Min-ho. Why is the starring man with you? This is. Ebele hesitates, glancing at Min-ho. This is an old friend of Mommy's. His name is Min-ho. You didn't say I could call him that. What? You always make me ask before I use someone's name. It's polite. Min-ho finds himself smiling despite everything. You can call me Min-ho, I don't mind. Soo-min studies him with unnerving intensity. You have the same eyes as me. I noticed that too. It's genetically improbable, unless we're related. She tilts her head. Are we related? Ebele makes a small sound, distress, maybe, or reluctant amusement. Baby, that's… Yes, Min-ho says quietly. We're related. Soo-min's eyes widen. She looks at her mother, then back at Min-ho, processing this information with visible intensity. Are you my father? The question hangs in the air. Ebele's hand tightens on her daughter's shoulder. Min-ho drops to one knee, putting himself at the child's eye level. Yes, he says, I am. Didn't you come before? Because I didn't know about you. Your mother and I, we met a long time ago before you were born, then we lost each other. I've been looking for her ever since, but I couldn't find her. You looked for us. For years. That's a long time. It felt even longer. Soo-min processes this, her small face serious. Mommy said my daddy lived far away and didn't know about me. She said it wasn't his fault. Was right. It wasn't my fault and it wasn't her fault. Sometimes things just happen. You know now. I know now. Are you going to stay? The question cuts through everything, all the complications, all the danger, all the impossible logistics of what comes next. A child's question, simple and devastating. I want to stay, Min-ho says carefully. But that's not just my decision. Your mother has to agree, and you have to want me here. I want you here. Soo-min says it immediately, without hesitation. I always wanted a daddy. The other kids have daddies. I pretended I didn't care, but I did. Ebele makes a soft sound behind them. When Min-ho looks up, her eyes are bright with unshed tears. This is a lot to decide right now, she says. We should take it slow, Mommy. Soo-min's voice is patient. As if she's explaining something obvious to someone not quite bright enough to understand. He looked for us, for years, and now he found us. Why would we send him away? Because it's complicated. Everything is complicated. That's what you always say. But you also say the complicated things are usually the most important ones. She crosses her arms. I think having a daddy is important. Min-ho watches Ebele struggle, the fear warring with something softer, something that remembers a night in New York when two strangers became something more. One step at a time, Ebele finally says. We start slow, we see how it goes, and if anything at all makes me uncomfortable, we stop. Agreed. Agreed, Min-ho says. Agreed, Soo-min echoes. Then she picks up her purple crayon and returns to her dinosaur. You can watch me color now, I'm very good at it. I'm sure you are. The trick is staying inside the lines while still making bold artistic choices. It's a balance. Min-ho settles into the chair across from his daughter, watching her small hands move across the page, and feels something he hasn't felt in 17 years. Hope 3 hours later, Min-ho is still at the table. The restaurant has emptied, the staff cleaning up around them, but nobody dares to tell the boss to leave. Soo-min has graduated from coloring to a full lecture on dinosaur species, complete with hand gestures and occasional quizzes to make sure he's paying attention. Now, what's the difference between a pterodactyl and a pteranodon? Pteranodons were larger and had no teeth. Correct. And neither of them are actually dinosaurs. They're pterosaurs, a common misconception. Soo-min beams at him. You're a good student. I had a good teacher. Ebele has been watching them from across the room, her expression unreadable. Now she approaches, tapping her watch. It's past someone's bedtime. Mommy, no buts, you have school tomorrow. Soo-min's face falls, but she doesn't argue. Instead, she turns to Min-ho with suddenly anxious eyes. Come back, right? You're not going to disappear again. I'm not going to disappear. Promise. I promise. Pinky promise. She holds out her small finger. Min-ho looks at this tiny offering, a child's gesture, simple and profound, and feels his throat tighten. He hooks his pinky around hers. Pinky promise. Good. Soo-min nods decisively. Then I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to study velociraptors. They're my favorite. Look forward to it. She hugs him then, quick and fierce and completely unexpected, before running to gather her things. Min-ho stays frozen in place, the ghost of her small arms still wrapped around him. She doesn't hug strangers, Ebele says quietly, watching her daughter. She never has. Even as a baby, she was selective about physical affection. What does that mean? It means she's already decided about you. Ebele meets his eyes. Don't make her regret it. I won't. You don't know that. You're right, I don't. He stands, facing her fully. But I know that I've spent 20 years building an empire I never wanted, fighting wars I never chose, becoming someone I barely recognize. And then tonight, a little girl with my eyes asked me to pinky promise I wouldn't disappear. His voice roughens. I've never meant anything more in my life. Ebele stares at him for a long moment. Whatever she sees makes her expression soften slightly. We need to talk, properly, without Soo-min present, about what happens next. The time and place. Tomorrow night, after she's asleep, I'll text you my address. You have my number. Narai gave it to me, your assistant. She almost smiles. She approached me after the dinner rush, said you want me to have it. She seemed very efficient. He pauses. Did she say anything else? She said you haven't smiled in 5 years, and that you smiled more tonight than she's ever seen. Min-ho doesn't know how to respond to that. It's true he can feel the unfamiliar ache in his cheeks, but hearing it stated so plainly makes him feel exposed in a way he doesn't like. Tomorrow night, he says instead. I'll be there. The apartment is smaller than he expected. Min-ho stands in Ebele's living room, taking in the second-hand furniture, the books stacked on every surface, the dinosaur toys scattered across the floor. On the wall, a dozen photographs of Soo-min at various ages. First steps, first birthday, first day of school. He missed all of it. Every single moment. She's asleep, Ebele says, emerging from the hallway. She's changed out of her work uniform into jeans and a soft sweater, her hair released from its bun into thick curls that frame her face. She looks exhausted, beautiful, terrified. Thank you for letting me come. Not sure I had a choice. She settles onto the couch, pulling her legs under her. She talked about you all the way home, all through dinner, all through bath time. You're her new favorite subject. I'm sorry if that's difficult. It's not difficult. She stops, searching for words. It's what I always wanted for her. A father who showed up, who cared. I just never expected it to actually happen. Did you come to Seoul? After what happened with Soo-min's father with me, why bring her to my city? Ebele is quiet for a long moment. When she speaks, her voice is careful. My grandmother raised me. My mother died when I was 12, and my father remarried someone who made it clear I wasn't welcome. So Grandma took me in. Taught me everything I know about cooking, about life, about surviving. Sounds remarkable. But she's also 92 years old. And when she got sick last year, when I thought I might lose her, I realized that Soo-min has no family except me. No aunts, no uncles, no cousins, just me. So you came looking for her father. I came looking for possibilities. Seoul felt right. Korea has excellent schools, good job opportunities, a culture I wanted Soo-min to experience. She hesitates. And yes, in the back of my mind, I thought maybe I'd find some trace of you, some clue about who you really were. Instead, you found me on a wall in a restaurant manager's office, complete with your full name and your terrifying reputation. She laughs, but there's no humor in it. I almost quit that day, packed our bags and ran, but I'd just signed a lease. Soo-min had just started school, and I told myself that you were probably just an investor. That I'd never actually see you. Here I am. Here you are. Silence stretches between them, heavy with everything unsaid. Need to know something, Ebele says finally. About your world, about what being your daughter would actually mean for her. Ask me anything. People trying to kill you? The question is blunt, but her eyes are serious. Min-ho considers lying a polite deflection, a reassuring half-truth, then decides against it. Yes, people are occasionally trying to kill me. It comes with the territory. How occasionally? The last serious attempt was 18 months ago, Before that, 3 years. My organization has grown stable enough that direct attacks are rare, but the threat is never zero. If they knew about Soo-min, she would become a target, a way to control me, a weakness they could exploit. He meets her eyes steadily. Which is why, for now, no one can know she exists. My assistant knows I've reconnected with someone from my past, but she doesn't know the details. It has to stay that way. How long? Until I can guarantee her safety. Until the political landscape shifts enough that having a family is a strength rather than a vulnerability. He pauses. I'm working on it, have been for years, transitioning my operations toward legitimate enterprises, building alliances instead of enemies. It's slow, but it's happening. In the meantime, what does being her father look like? Whatever you'll allow. I can visit carefully without drawing attention. I can provide resources, money, security, opportunities without revealing their source. And I can be present, available, a part of her life in whatever way you deem safe. Ebele considers this. And us, what does this mean for us? What do you want it to mean? I don't know. She pulls at a thread on her sweater, not meeting his eyes. 6 years ago, I thought I met someone special, someone who saw me in a way no one else ever had. He disappeared, and I convinced myself it was just chemistry, just attraction, nothing real. Now he's sitting in my living room, asking to be part of my daughter's life. She looks up. I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know what to trust. Trust takes time. I understand that. Because in my experience, men like you aren't used to waiting. You're used to taking what you want. I used to be. He holds her gaze. But I'm not the same person I was 17 years ago. Or even 6 years ago. I've learned that some things can't be taken. They have to be earned. Pretty words. I mean them. Everyone means their words in the moment. The question is whether they mean them tomorrow, and next week, and next year. Then I'll prove it, however long it takes, whatever you need to see. He leans forward slightly. I'm not asking you to trust me tonight, Ebele. I'm asking you to give me a chance to earn it. Air between them shifts. She's close enough that he can smell her shampoo, something coconut, warm and sweet, and see the pulse jumping in her throat. One step at a time, she says quietly. One step at a time, starting slow as you need. She nods once, decisive. Okay, then I guess we figure this out together. Together. The word hangs between them, a promise, a possibility, a fragile beginning. Min-ho allows himself to hope 1 month into their arrangement. Ebele realizes she has a problem. The problem isn't Soo-min, who has taken to Min-ho like she's been waiting for him her entire life. It isn't the logistics, which Narai manages with frightening efficiency. Covert visits, secure communication channels, funds deposited into accounts that can't be traced. The problem is that Ebele is starting to feel something. She notices it first during a dinner at the apartment. Min-ho is helping Soo-min build a dinosaur skeleton from a kit, both of them bent over the coffee table, arguing about which bone goes where. That's clearly a femur, Soo-min insists. The instructions say it's a tibia. The instructions are wrong. Look at the proportions. I'm looking, I see a tibia. You see wrong. This is why scientists need to verify everything independently. Blind trust in authority leads to errors. Min-ho looks up at Ebele, his expression caught between amusement and genuine respect. Is she always like this, since she learned to talk? I'm going to be a paleontologist, Soo-min announces. I'll publish papers correcting all the mistakes in dinosaur kits. It will be revolutionary. I believe you. You should. I'm usually right. Ebele watches them, her daughter and the man who fathered her, and feels something shift in her chest. It's not just attraction, though that's there too, persistent and inconvenient. It's something deeper, something that looks like the beginning of a family. The realization terrifies her. You're falling for him, her grandmother says during their weekly video call. I am not. Baby, I've known you your entire life. You're falling. I'm being practical. He's Soo-min's father. We need to have a functional relationship for her sake. MMHMM. And that functional relationship is why you spent 20 minutes describing how he reads her bedtime stories. Ebele opens her mouth to argue, then closes it. Her grandmother watches her with the knowing expression of someone who's seen everything and can't be fooled. He's dangerous, Ebele finally says. His world is violent and unpredictable. Falling for him would be the stupidest thing I could possibly do. Probably. So why are you smiling? Because love isn't about smart, baby. It never has been. Her grandmother's eyes soften. Your grandfather was a difficult man. Stubborn, secretive, gone more than he was home. Everyone told me I was crazy to marry him. You did anyway. I did. Because when he looked at me, I felt like the only person in the world. And because he loved our children like they were made of gold. She pauses. This man of yours, how does he look at Soo-min? Ebele thinks about Min-ho's face when Soo-min laughs, the way he memorizes every word she says. The way he drops to his knees to meet her at eye level every single time. Like she's made of gold, she admits. Then maybe stupid isn't so stupid after all. The shift happens 3 weeks later, during a rainstorm. Soo-min has been asleep for an hour. Ebele and Min-ho are on the couch, a careful distance between them, discussing practical matters. School options, medical records, the legal complexities of establishing paternity without public acknowledgement. Have lawyers who can handle it quietly, Min-ho says. Nothing that creates a public record until we're ready. When will we be ready? When I've neutralized enough threats that having a family becomes an asset rather than a liability. That could be years. It could be, or it could be sooner. Things are shifting in my organization. The partnership with the Choi Syndicate has created stability we haven't had in decades. Me about that. The partnership. Min-ho hesitates. She sees him weighing what to say, how much truth she can handle, how much he's willing to expose. There was a young man, he says finally. Choi Dong-wook. His grandfather was my enemy. We'd been fighting for years, a slow war of attrition that was destroying both sides. When the grandfather died, everyone expected Dong-wook to escalate, to come after me with everything he had. He didn't. Wanted to. He had every reason to. His grandfather's death was partly my responsibility. But I approached him differently, offered partnership instead of war, integration instead of destruction. He agreed. Eventually. He's smart enough to recognize that endless conflict serves no one. We've been building something sustainable ever since. That why you want to step back, why you're working toward legitimacy. Min-ho is quiet for a moment. When he speaks, his voice is softer. Partly, but mostly, he looks at her. I've been tired for a long time, Ebele. Since I was 17 and my father died and I had to become someone I never wanted to be. I've spent 20 years fighting just to survive. I'd like to spend the next 20 actually living. What does living look like to you? It looks like this. He gestures around the small apartment. The second-hand furniture, the dinosaur toys, the photographs on the walls. It looks like bedtime stories and dinosaur bones and arguments about femurs versus tibias. It looks like being present. Being known, being something other than feared. That's not what I expected you to say. What did you expect? I don't know, wealth, power, influence, the things men like you usually want. I have those things, they've never made me happy. He pauses. You did, though, that night in New York. For a few hours, I was just a man having a conversation with a brilliant, beautiful woman who challenged everything I thought I knew. I've been chasing that feeling ever since. Ebele's heart is pounding. The rain drums against the windows, cocooning them in private darkness. Min-ho, I'm not trying to pressure you. I know we're taking things slow. He stops, runs a hand through his hair. I need you to know that this isn't just about Soo-min. It never was. From the moment I saw you in that restaurant, I wanted you. Not as the mother of my child, as you. You barely know me. I know that you quote Baldwin when you're making a point and Morrison when you're feeling tender. I know you take your coffee black and your eggs scrambled and your truth without sugarcoating. I know you raised our daughter alone, with no resources and no support, and you made her extraordinary. His eyes burn into hers. I know that when you walked into that jazz bar 6 years ago, you were the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. And I know that tonight, sitting on a second-hand couch in a tiny apartment, you're even more beautiful than I remembered. Stop. Why? Because if you keep talking, I'm going to do something stupid. What kind of stupid? The kind where I kiss you and complicate everything we've been carefully building. Min-ho goes very still. Would that be so bad? Yes, no, I don't know. Ebele presses her hands to her face. This is insane. You're a crime boss. I'm a restaurant server. We have a secret daughter and enemies who would use her against you, and absolutely no foundation for a relationship beyond one night and a month of co-parenting. You're right, it's completely insane. So we should be sensible. Absolutely should. Should keep things platonic and practical. Agree completely. Neither of them moves. Still looking at me like that, Ebele whispers. I can't help it. I don't want to. Space between them collapses. Later, she won't remember who moved first, whether she reached for him or he reached for her, only that suddenly his mouth is on hers and 6 years of wondering dissolve into certainty. He kisses like she remembers, focused, intense, like she's the only thing that exists. His hands cup her face, gentle despite their strength, and she melts into him the way she did in that New York apartment when she thought she'd never see him again. We shouldn't, she gasps when they break apart. Probably not. Soo-min could wake up. She won't. You don't know that. Ebele. His forehead rests against hers. Tell me to stop and I'll stop. Tell me this is too fast and I'll wait. But don't tell me you don't want this, because I felt you kiss me back. She has no defense against that, no argument, just the truth, inconvenient and undeniable. Want this, she admits. God help me, I want this. Then let yourself have it. It's not that simple. Could be if we let it. She looks at him, this man who controls empires, who commands armies, who spent a month sleeping on her couch and building dinosaur skeletons with her daughter, and makes a decision. One night, she says, we figure out what this is. And tomorrow, we talk about what it means. Deal. He kisses her again, deeper this time, and she stops thinking about tomorrow morning comes too soon. Ebele wakes to sunlight streaming through her bedroom window and the sound of her daughter's voice in the kitchen. Then the T-Rex ate all the other dinosaurs, but not the good ones because the good ones were hiding. Strategic. Min-ho's voice, warm and amused. Would you like more pancakes? Yes, please, with extra blueberries. Coming right up. Ebele lies frozen, processing. Min-ho is making breakfast for her daughter in her kitchen. After spending the night in her bed, this is either the best decision she's ever made or the worst. Possibly both. She finds them at the kitchen table. Soo-min covered in maple syrup, Min-ho wearing one of Ebele's aprons, a plate of surprisingly professional pancakes between them. Mommy, Soo-min beams. Daddy made breakfast. He can cook. I see that. Ebele's voice comes out steadier than she feels. When did you learn to cook? My father believed in self-sufficiency. If I couldn't make food for myself, how could I survive if my staff abandoned me? Min-ho flips a pancake with practiced ease. Hungry? Starving. Then sit. I'll make you a plate. Ebele sits across from her daughter, watching Min-ho move around her kitchen like he belongs there. It should feel wrong, intrusive, too fast, too much. Instead, it feels like a puzzle piece clicking into place. I decided something, Soo-min announces through a mouthful of pancake. What did you decide? I want Daddy to live with us. Ebele chokes on her coffee. Min-ho's spatula clatters against the pan. Baby, that's a big decision. I know, I thought about it very carefully. Soo-min nods sagely. He's here all the time anyway. He makes good pancakes, and I hear him sneaking out in the morning, which seems inefficient. You hear him. My room is next to the front door, Mommy. I hear lots of things. She takes another bite. It's okay. I figured out weeks ago that you and Daddy were becoming more than friends. I was just waiting for you to catch up. Ebele and Min-ho exchange glances, his horrified, hers mortified. Exactly how much have you figured out? Ebele asks carefully. Enough, Soo-min shrugs. You look at each other the way people in love look at each other. It's scientifically documented. I read about it. Which book? I don't remember, but it was definitely a book. Min-ho slides a plate in front of Ebele, his expression caught between amusement and alarm. Your daughter is terrifying. Gets it from me, clearly. So, Soo-min presses. Is Daddy moving in? Ebele looks at Min-ho. He looks back, letting her lead, giving her control. We'll talk about it, she says finally. Grown-ups have to discuss these things properly. How long will discussing take? As long as it takes. That's very vague. Soo-min frowns. I prefer concrete timelines. Well, you'll have to be patient. Patience is statistically linked to better outcomes. I read that too. She sighs dramatically. Fine, I'll wait, but don't take forever. They don't take forever. 3 months later, Min-ho moves into the apartment, quietly, carefully, with none of the fanfare that would draw attention. His security team establishes a discreet presence in the neighborhood. Narai creates elaborate cover stories for his frequent disappearances from official business. And every night, without fail, he comes home. This is strange, he admits one evening, watching Soo-min chase fireflies in the tiny backyard. Being domestic. Strange or good strange? Strange like waking up from a nightmare and realizing you're actually safe. He turns to Ebele. I keep waiting for something to go wrong. Maybe nothing will go wrong. Maybe this is just life. I'm not sure I know how to do just life. Then learn, I'll teach you. She does. Day by day, she teaches him how to help with homework without giving answers, how to mediate dinosaur-based arguments, how to be present without trying to fix everything. He learns differently than she expected. Not perfectly, not easily, but steadily. Like a man who's been starving finally remembering how to eat. And somewhere along the way, she falls completely in love with him. Marry me. Words come 6 months in, during an ordinary Wednesday dinner. Soo-min drops her fork. Ebele drops her jaw. Me. Min-ho looks nervous, genuinely, visibly nervous, an expression Ebele has never seen on his face before. I was going to wait, plan something romantic, but I've been carrying this ring for 3 weeks and I can't wait anymore. He pulls out a small box. Inside is a ring, simple, elegant, clearly antique. It was my mother's, he says. My father had it made for her when they married. He told me once that it represented two strands becoming one, two separate lives woven together into something stronger than either alone. Soo-min is bouncing in her seat. Say yes, Mommy, say yes. Baby, this is. Say yes. Ebele looks at the ring, at her daughter, at the man kneeling in front of her in their tiny kitchen offering her everything he has. This is insane, she whispers. I know. Your world is dangerous. Our situation is complicated. Getting married could make us targets. I know. So why are you asking? Because I love you. His voice is raw, stripped of every defense. Because I've loved you since Harlem, even when I didn't know your name. Because our daughter told me 6 months ago that we were becoming more than friends and she was right and I'm tired of pretending otherwise. What about the risks? The risks exist whether we're married or not. Being official doesn't create new dangers. It just gives us a reason to face them together. He takes her hand. I've spent my whole life building walls. I'm done hiding. I want to claim you, both of you, whatever it costs. Ebele stares at him. At this man who was supposed to be a one-night stand, who became the father of her child, who has somehow become the center of her entire world. Impossible, she says. Is that a yes? Yes. The word breaks free before she can stop it. Yes, you impossible man, I'll marry you. Soo-min shrieks and launches herself at both of them, knocking Min-ho off balance, sending them all tumbling to the kitchen floor in a tangle of limbs and laughter. I told you, Soo-min crows. I told you my plan would work. What plan? My plan to make us a family. She grins triumphantly. I've been working on it since the first day. You were just too slow to notice. Min-ho looks at Ebele, his eyes bright with joy and wonder and something that looks like disbelief. Daughter is terrifying, he says again. I know. Ebele kisses him quick and fierce. She gets it from both of us. The wedding happens fast, 6 weeks from proposal to ceremony, because Min-ho insists on making it legal before something goes wrong. Pessimistic, Ebele accuses. Realistic. In my world, delays cost lives. We're getting married, not planning a heist. Principle, move quickly, secure the objective, deal with complications afterward. Romantic. Show you romantic later. The ceremony takes place at the Hanok, Min-ho's mother's family home, the place where his parents first met, where generations of his family loved and lost and loved again. It's small, just them, Soo-min, Narai, and Yi-sung, but perfect in its intimacy. Soo-min serves as flower girl, taking the responsibility so seriously that she creates a spreadsheet tracking optimal petal distribution patterns. Coverage in Sector 3 was inadequate, she announces afterward. I'll do better next time. There going to be a next time? Min-ho asks. Probably not, but I believe in preparation. The vows are simple. Ebele promises to see him clearly, all of him, the darkness and the light. Min-ho promises to come home every night no matter what. They exchange rings. They kiss. Soo-min cheers so loudly that birds scatter from nearby trees. And just like that, they're married. The first test comes 3 weeks later. Min-ho doesn't come home. He texts at 7 p.m., meeting running late. Don't wait up. He texts at 11 p.m., situation developing, home soon. At 2 a.m., Ebele gets a call from Narai. He's been taken. The words don't register at first. Taken? Kidnapped. During a meeting with a potential business partner who turned out to be a Choi faction operative. Narai's voice is tight, controlled, barely concealing panic. We're working on locating him. Choi faction, I thought the partnership was stable. The leadership is stable. But Dong-wook's grandfather had loyalists who never accepted the alliance. They've been planning something for months. Tonight, they made their move. Ebele sits down heavily, her legs unable to support her. What do they want? Control. They think if they eliminate Min-ho, they can destabilize the alliance and take power. If they can't eliminate him, Narai's silence is answer enough. What can I do? Ebele asks. There has to be something. Stay safe. Stay hidden. Don't let anyone know your connection to him. Narai pauses. And take care of Soo-min. She's the one thing that could give him something to fight for or something they could use against him. The call ends. Ebele sits in the dark kitchen, her wedding ring gleaming on her finger, and feels her world cracking apart. 3 days. No news, no contact, nothing but silence and fear. Ebele maintains the routine for Soo-min's sake, school drop-offs, homework help, bedtime stories, while falling apart inside. She doesn't sleep, barely eats, jumps every time her phone buzzes. Where's Daddy? Soo-min asks on day 2. He had to go on a business trip. He'll be back soon. You're lying, Ebele freezes. What? You always look left when you lie. It's a tell. Soo-min's eyes are too knowing for a 6-year-old. Something happened to him. Baby, something bad. That's why you've been crying when you think I'm asleep. She climbs into Ebele's lap, suddenly small and frightened. Is he dead? No, Ebele holds her tight. No, baby, he's not dead. He's in trouble. Yes, he's in trouble. Will he come? Ebele's voice breaks. I don't know. Soo-min is quiet for a long moment. Then she pulls back, her expression shifting to something fierce and determined. Then we have to help him. Baby, this isn't something we can help with. Why not? You always tell me that the smartest thing to do is find a solution instead of crying about the problem. She crosses her arms. I want to find a solution. This isn't a dinosaur bone kit. This is dangerous. Dangerous doesn't mean impossible. It just means we have to be smarter. Ebele stares at her daughter, this brilliant, fearless child who inherited the best parts of both her parents, and feels something shift inside her. Right, she says slowly. We have to be smarter. The idea comes at 3 a.m. Ebele has spent hours reviewing everything Min-ho told her about the Choi situation. The partnership, the factions, the loyalists who never accepted the alliance. One name keeps surfacing. Choi Soo-jin, Dong-wook's sister, who runs a children's nonprofit in Singapore. She's estranged from her brother since their grandfather's death. But she's still family, still connected. And she's not part of the faction that took Min-ho. Ebele picks up her phone and dials Narai. I need to talk to Soo-jin. Can you arrange it? Silence on the line. Then, why? Because Dong-wook's faction took my husband. And if anyone can get through to Dong-wook about this, convince him to intervene, it's his sister. She's been estranged for years. She's still his family. And this faction is working against his partnership, his legacy, everything he's built. If she tells him what's happening, he'll have to act. Narai considers. It's a risk. If she sides with the faction, then I've lost nothing I haven't already lost. Ebele's voice hardens. My husband is missing, my daughter's father might be dead. I'm not going to sit here waiting for news. I'm going to do something. Another pause. Then Narai says quietly, I always knew you were good for him. This proves it. You make the call. I can. Soo-jin and I have a contact in common. Give me 2 hours. Soo-jin agrees to meet. Ebele flies to Singapore the next morning, leaving Soo-min with Narai under heavy guard. The meeting happens at Soo-jin's nonprofit office, neutral territory, safe enough. Soo-jin is smaller than expected, with tired eyes and careful hands. Mrs. Kang, her voice is cautious. I wasn't expecting a personal visit. I wasn't expecting to make one. Ebele sits across from her. Your brother's loyalists have my husband. I'm aware. Word travels. You also aware that they're working against everything your brother has built. That if they succeed, it destroys the partnership and throws both organizations into war. Aware of the implications. Then why hasn't Dong-wook acted? Soo-jin is quiet for a long moment. Because he doesn't know how. The faction is led by men who served our grandfather. Men he respects, even if he doesn't agree with them. Moving against them openly would be seen as betrayal. Letting them kill my husband wouldn't? It's more complicated than that. It's not complicated at all. Ebele leans forward. Your brother made a choice when he partnered with Min-ho. He chose peace over vengeance, progress over stagnation. If he lets his grandfather's loyalists destroy that choice, he's not honoring his grandfather's memory. He's abandoning his own principles. You don't understand our family. I understand loss. I understand what it does to people. And I understand that Dong-wook has been grieving since long before his grandfather died. She pauses, choosing her next words carefully. I know about his daughter. Soo-jin goes very still. I know she was 4 years old. I know she had leukemia. I know he fell apart after she died and his grandfather was the only one who could reach him. Ebele's voice softens. I have a daughter too. She's 6. And right now her father is missing and she asks me every night if he's going to come home. That's not the same. Of course it's not. Nothing is ever the same. But grief recognizes grief. And Dong-wook knows what it feels like to lose someone he loves. Ebele holds Soo-jin's gaze. Help me reach him. Help me make him understand that letting Min-ho die doesn't honor his grandfather. It just creates more grief, more loss, more children asking where their parents are. Soo-jin stares at her for a long moment. Something shifts in her expression, recognition, maybe, or the first crack in her careful detachment. You really love him, she says. Kang Min-ho, with everything I have. Even knowing what he is, what he's done. I know who he's becoming, that's what matters. Silence stretches between them. Then Soo-jin reaches for her phone. Call my brother, I can't promise anything, but I'll call. The call works. 26 hours later, Min-ho walks through the front door. He's bruised, bloody. One arm in a makeshift sling, but he's alive, he's home. And when Soo-min launches herself at him, he catches her with his good arm and holds on like he'll never let go. Daddy, She's crying, actually crying, something she rarely does. You came back! I promised I would. You were gone for almost a week. I know, I'm sorry. Be sorry, just don't do it again. Try. Later, after the reunion, after the explanations, after Narai's team finishes checking him for injuries and Soo-min finally falls asleep between them on the bed, Min-ho tells Ebele what happened. They were going to kill me. Had the whole thing planned. Execution, video message, the works. His voice is flat, detached, but she sees his hands trembling. Then Dong-wook showed up, personally, told them to stand down or face him directly. Saved you. Made a choice. Said someone reminded him what partnership actually means. Min-ho looks at her. What did you say to his sister? That grief recognizes grief and that you were worth saving. You risked everything, flying to Singapore, confronting a stranger for me. I promised to see you clearly, all of you. Ebele takes his hand. Did you think that was just words? I thought, his voice cracks. I thought I'd die in that warehouse, and all I could think about was you, both of you, everything I'd miss. You're not missing anything, you're here. I'm here. He pulls her close, breathing her in. I'm never leaving again. Don't make promises you can't keep. I'm making this one anyway. Recovery takes time, physical recovery, the broken ribs, the dislocated shoulder, the cuts and bruises that paint his body in shades of purple and yellow. But also emotional recovery, the nightmares that wake him sweating, the flinch when phones ring unexpectedly, the shadow that lives behind his eyes even when he smiles. Ebele learns to hold him through it, to recognize the signs and respond with presence instead of pressure. Soo-min, in her way, helps too, dragging him to dinosaur museums, demanding breakfast pancakes, filling silence with chatter that grounds him in the present. She's good medicine, Min-ho admits one evening, watching their daughter present a detailed report on T-Rex hunting strategies. She's your daughter. She refuses to let anything defeat her. That's you too. You flew to Singapore when any sensible person would have hidden. Sensible people don't marry crime bosses. True. He pulls her into his lap. Thank you for not being sensible. Thank you for coming home. Always, no matter what. A year after the kidnapping, Dong-wook comes to dinner. It's the first time he's visited their home, this apartment that remains carefully hidden from the larger organization, the secret life Min-ho has built within his public one. He arrives with his sister, both of them uncertain at the threshold. Thank you for having us, Soo-jin says. Thank you for saving my husband. They eat together, the five of them plus Soo-min, who grills Dong-wook on his technology investments with the ruthlessness of a corporate prosecutor. You funded an AI startup that creates dinosaur simulations. She leans forward. Tell me everything. I'm not sure everything is appropriate for a 7-year-old. I'm very mature for my age. Ask anyone. Dong-wook glances at Min-ho, who shrugs helplessly. She's not wrong. The simulation creates realistic hunting behaviors based on fossil records, Dong-wook explains. We're partnering with museums to create immersive educational experiences. This is extremely interesting. Soo-min pulls out a notebook. Continue. The next hour, Dong-wook finds himself in an impromptu board meeting with a child who asks better questions than most executives. By the end, he looks slightly shell-shocked but genuinely impressed. Your daughter is terrifying, he tells Ebele, so everyone keeps saying. I mean it as a compliment. I know you do. Later, after the children are sleeping and the adults are sharing wine on the terrace, Dong-wook says what he came to say. Faction that took you, they've been dismantled. Permanently. There won't be another attempt. Min-ho nods slowly. I heard, thank you for handling it. Thank you for giving me a reason to. Dong-wook stares at his glass. When Soo-jin called me, when she told me what your wife said, I realized something. I'd been so focused on honoring my grandfather that I forgot what he actually wanted. Which was legacy, not vengeance. He wanted to build something that lasted, that mattered. And this, he gestures at the apartment, the life Min-ho has built. This matters more than territory or money or power. This is what legacy actually looks like. Your daughter would have been proud of you, Ebele says quietly. For choosing this. Dong-wook's eyes go bright. I hope so, every day I hope so. 3 years after the kidnapping, everything changes. It starts with a phone call. Your grandmother is dying. Words hit Ebele like physical blows. She grips the counter, steadying herself. How long? Weeks, maybe days. Her aunt's voice is rough with tears. She's asking for you, and for Soo-min, she wants to meet her great-granddaughter before. The sentence doesn't finish. It doesn't need to. Coming, tonight. Min-ho appears in the doorway, alerted by her tone. What's wrong? My grandmother, I have to go to New York. Arrange the jet. You don't have to. Your grandmother raised you. She's family. Of course I have to. They land 12 hours later, Min-ho, Ebele, and Soo-min, now 9 years old and somber in a way that breaks Ebele's heart. Is she going to die? Soo-min asks during the drive to the hospital. Yes, baby, probably soon. Will it hurt? I don't think so. She's very tired. She's ready to rest. She wanted to meet me first. You're the thing she's most excited about. She's seen pictures, heard stories, but she's never held you. Then I need to be very huggable. Soo-min squares her shoulders. I've been practicing. The hospital room is small and bright, filled with flowers and the beeping of machines. And in the center of it all, propped up by pillows, is the woman who raised Ebele to be who she is. Grandma. Baby girl. The voice is weak but warm. Come here, let me see you. Ebele approaches the bed, tears already streaming. Behind her, Soo-min hangs back, suddenly uncertain. And this must be Soo-min. Her grandmother's eyes, still sharp despite everything, fix on her great-granddaughter. Come closer, child, I don't bite. Soo-min approaches slowly. Hello, I'm your great-granddaughter. I know who you are. I've been waiting to meet you for 9 years. That's a very long time. It felt even longer. A frail hand reaches out. Will you sit with me? Tell me about yourself. Soo-min takes the hand carefully, mindful of the IV lines. What do you want to know? Everything. Start with the dinosaurs. I've heard you're an expert. For the next hour, Soo-min talks. About dinosaurs, about school, about her father who used to be scary but now makes breakfast pancakes. About her mother who cooks the recipes she learned from a woman she called grandma. About the family she's building with 2 imperfect people who love her more than anything. Ebele watches her grandmother's face as she listens, the joy, the satisfaction, the peace of someone who knows their legacy will continue. Done well, her grandmother says to Ebele when Soo-min pauses for breath. Better than I could have imagined. I learned from the best. You learned from love. That's all any of us learn from. Her eyes move to Min-ho, standing quietly in the corner. And you, come here. Min-ho approaches, respectful despite his power. You love my granddaughter, more than my own life. You'll protect her, care for her, make her happy, every day until I die. A thin smile. Because if you don't, I'll haunt you. I believe in that sort of thing. I believe you would. Sensible man. She squeezes his hand weakly. Take care of my girls, all 3 of them. 3. Her grandmother looks at Ebele with knowing eyes. She hasn't told you yet, has she? Min-ho turns to Ebele, confusion shifting to something else. I was waiting for the right moment, Ebele whispers, her hand moving to her stomach. I just found out last week. You're pregnant? Surprise. Min-ho's face goes through 17 emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, joy, fear, wonder, and finally, something that looks like his heart breaking open. We're having another baby. We're having another baby. I'm going to be a big sister. Soo-min shrieks, all pretense of maturity abandoned. I knew something was going on. You've been eating pickles with ice cream. That's not okay, that's accurate. Ebele's grandmother laughs, a thin sound but genuine. There, now I can die happy, 3 generations, 4 soon, that's a good number. Grandma, don't cry, baby girl, this is what life looks like. We love, we grow, we pass the torch. Her eyes close. I'm just glad I got to see it. To know that everything I gave you, you're giving it forward. She falls asleep holding Soo-min's hand. 2 days later, she doesn't wake up, but she dies smiling. And somehow, that makes everything bearable. The funeral brings everyone together. Relatives Ebele hasn't seen in decades. Friends of her grandmother who share stories over coffee. Min-ho, quietly supportive, handling logistics with Na-rai while Ebele grieves. And Soo-min, who delivers a eulogy that leaves everyone in tears. My great-grandmother was very old, she says, standing at the podium like she belongs there. But she wasn't tired old, she was wise old. She taught my mother how to cook, and my mother taught me. So when I make jollof rice, I'm really making love that started 3 generations ago. She looks at the casket. Only knew her for 2 days, but she told me that 2 days was enough, because love isn't about time, it's about depth. And she loved me deep, I could feel it. Her voice wavers. I'm going to miss her, but I'm also going to remember her. Every time I cook, every time I tell stories, every time I love someone the way she taught us to love. She steps down from the podium and walks directly to Ebele, climbing into her lap like she's 5 again. I did okay, she whispers. You did amazing. Good, because I'm going to cry now. She does. They all do. And somehow in the crying there's healing. The baby arrives on a rainy night in autumn. Kang T-Yang, little son, comes into the world screaming, which Soo-min declares is scientifically appropriate for someone asserting their existence. He has Min-ho's eyes, Ebele's smile, and a disposition that's entirely his own, calm where Soo-min was chaotic, watchful where she was demanding. He's perfect, Min-ho breathes, holding his son for the first time. He looks like a potato, Soo-min observes. A perfect potato. Enough. Ebele watches her family, her husband, her daughter, her newborn son, and feels something settle inside her. This is what her grandmother meant. This is what legacy looks like. Not money or power or fame, just love passed down through generations, growing stronger with each passing. Welcome to the family, T-Yang, she whispers. It's a little crazy, but it's ours. The years unfold like origami, each fold revealing new shapes, new patterns, new possibilities. Soo-min grows from 9 to 12 to 15. Her brilliance expanding into new territories. She becomes interested in evolutionary genetics, the science behind why things become what they become, and attacks it with the same intensity she once brought to dinosaurs. Stanford, she announces at 15. That's where I'm going. That's 3 years away. Preparation is crucial. I'm starting my application materials now. Taeyong grows from infant to toddler to child, quieter than his sister, more contemplative with a gift for building things that shows up early and never leaves. He's going to be an architect, Soo-min predicts. Or an engineer, something that makes things work. Do you know, the way he studies problems? He doesn't want to understand them, he wants to solve them. Min-ho steps back from operations gradually, handing more control to Yi-sung and the next generation. The partnership with Dong-wook deepens into genuine friendship. The legitimate enterprises outgrow the criminal ones until eventually the transition is complete. You actually did it, Ebele says one evening, watching him play with Taeyong in the garden. You became someone else. I became who I should have been all along. You just gave me a reason to try. And through it all, they love each other. Imperfectly, sometimes painfully, but persistently. A kind of love that survives kidnappings and funerals and sleepless nights with infants. The kind that grows stronger with each crisis instead of breaking. If you enjoyed this story, please make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. And let us know in the comment section how we can make this more interesting to you. See you in another story.